Welcome back to True Story with John Gibson. Today we have two fantastic guests, Jackie and Kris Laidlaw. Thank you both for joining me.
Thanks for having us, man. We're excited to be here.
Yay.
Completely my pleasure. This is like my definition of a power couple. And at least again, in my definition, they literally live it, they walk it, they breathe it, they define it. Two extraordinarily creative people, entrepreneurs, amazing parents. So I hope you guys appreciate that introduction, but I just wanted to lay some context to why I feel I'm so impressed with you and enamored and just can't wait to dive into this conversation to pick your brains.
Hey, likewise, man. I mean, we watched your documentary recently and you're a specimen on your own with some of the accomplishments you've had, and your fire for life is something to aspire to, buddy.
I appreciate that so much. I very much, trust me, I'll take that with me all day. That'll carry me.
I'll put one in my pocket.
I promise I will reference that.
Could you say it again closer to the microphone?
I know. Well, I want to kind of lay some context to where you guys both are, and I'm going to throw some things against the wall, kind of spaghetti it, and then we'll hopefully let the conversation kind of just sort of evolve organically from there. But you both are really amazing in your own right. I appreciate your gentle parenting style. So I want to spend some time to discuss that and pick your brains. But moreover, it's not just about the way you guys parent that impresses me. You're entrepreneurs, and that takes a certain type of spirit, person, persistence to make that possible, to make those things possible, but moreover, to be successful in your own right. And Kris, you and your partner are crushing it in real estate, voted the best in Destin, which is something not an easy feat and such a beautiful, wonderful area. So I can't wait to pick your brain. Jackie, you've owned your own salon for over a decade, had so many other projects. I love your children's book. We're going to get to that too. But you guys are really amazing people. I don't know where you find your time and energy. Let's start there. I've already talked too much, more than I want to hear my own voice. Where do you find your energy to divide between your have-tos and your want-tos?
You want to take this one?
I'll start or finish. Which one you want to do?
I'll go. That's actually an interesting question because I found out, I think in 2015, that I have a thyroid problem, and I wouldn't have any of this energy to do any of this without that path having taken place. I'm on medication, and people ask me often, where do you get the energy? And I'm like, ooh, thyroid meds, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Right. It's, I mean, that's where I get my energy personally, but what about you?
Well, I mean, it's a long answer to a pretty easy question, but I mean, when I got sober, I'm a big believer on, addicts are some of the biggest, they have superpowers, and some of the most influential people, like we were talking earlier, are addicts. And I think when I quit drinking, you're never not going to be an addict. That's never going to happen. So you're addicted to something that's obviously causing you problems. Why can't you just take all that energy that you're focusing on that negative thing, whatever it be, alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever that's negative. I mean, sex is a hard thing to be a negative addiction, but let's be honest. So if you can take all that energy and pivot and focus it into something that's less negative or even positive, then, there's the sky's the limit. There's no ceiling that can kind of hold you at that point. And that's kind of where it goes for me. It became something all right, well, I got to do something with all this energy. What am I going to do with it? I need to focus it on something. And I focused it on, for me, it was real estate in the beginning and getting healthy in the very beginning.
I'd say we first turned to the gym. I would say that was our very first. We basically built momentum over time, I should say. My first promise to myself, the holistic psychologist says, keep small promises to yourself daily. That's how you start trusting yourself. So I remember taking my medicine every day was my first promise. And then 6 months later, we quit drinking. And then that was our next promise. And then we quickly said, okay, since we're not going to use the energy to drink, we have to use this energy somewhere. And so then that's when we dove into the gym together. And then we a year, 6 months, a year into our gym world, I got into a different gym world with a bunch of girls. And our lives just changed. You weren't working where we were. I can't remember
just
that
kept
far
like
back.
you were saying, it was just like the leapfrog. And that was we've been sober a little over 7 years. It was 7 years in January.
Yeah, and congratulations so very, very much. And I'm so glad you guys touched on that. And I'm so even more glad that you guys are so welcoming and sharing about that journey. But I want to ask to that end, so what was the impetus of getting sober, right? And then here's my second question to that, maybe. Was it easier or harder doing it as a couple? Like, I would think, oh my God, it'd be so much easier. I have support, but like nothing's easier as a couple. So like, why would that be easier?
You would think the problems would go away when you quit drinking, but they don't. You have to actually go through them. You got to face them. Yeah. You have to I say the first 90 days of sobriety felt like a giant tornado of shit. It was just like a shit storm swirling around us. But I think it was easier doing it together because we just had this I'm not going to drink. You're not going to drink. You're not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. Like that. It was, we became too stubborn to fail.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. But there's two sides of that coin. Like you were saying, it was easier because you have that support system, right? You got somebody there that's going to help you, we got this, we're fine, and help you find activities to pass the time and help you find new things and new hobbies. What's going to be that next addiction? But at the same time, that person that you, like you said, that couple, that loved one, that's who you do this with. And that's when it's like, I need a fucking drink. I gotta punch you in the head or something. But it just, I think overall for sure it makes it easier, or made it easier for us. But
we tried to get sober with just you getting sober and not me, because his liver had failed 4 years prior to our actual sober date.
Wow.
It was, I kind of take some blame for it because I'm like, take Dayquil and NyQuil. That's what I do when I have the flu. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that warning on the label really is true. Like if you mix this with alcohol, your liver is going to shut down.
Yeah. She's referring to a point probably 9 years ago when I was still in the bar industry bartending, and
it was like bike week or something.
Yeah. It was one of those weeks that you don't want to miss work. You're working from, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. if you can, because that's, your $700-800 days. And I had gotten sick and I was taking Dayquil, NyQuil, and echinacea, which is supposed
pre-COVID before, where you don't, now you don't go out when you're sick.
Yeah. I know, right? I know. Life is so different. I know.
Right.
And echinacea and drinking. And echinacea is good for you in lower doses. And I was taking way too much of that and way too much Dayquil, NyQuil, and drinking. And one day, woke up and basically liver failure pretty much. Went to the doctor and they're like, you can't ever drink again. And I was devastated with that comment. I'm like, well, I'll show you, buddy.
And we had just started dating.
Yeah, we were.
I was going to say, you probably weren't 30 yet, right?
Like, oh, God, no.
I 30.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
28, 29. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That would have been a big wake-up call.
It was a pretty big wake-up call at the time. But, then you start going down that rabbit hole of, your liver can rejuvenate itself. Everything's going to be fine.
Right.
And also, like you said, I was 28, 29, didn't have.
Yeah, I mean, we still feel we're very resilient, man. Mm-hmm. Believe me, I ran into walls over and over. I get it.
It was the thing, I take the drink and I don't drop dead. So it's that not having the future in mind at all. It was just constant shoving down. I can do this. See, I took a sip of alcohol and I didn't just drop dead. So, I mean,
and a little bit of that authority figure, you tell me what I can't do, I'll show you what, just being
we didn't wear masks.
Yeah. Well, these Floridians, you're texting, right? Do your thing.
It's so dirty.
Yeah. So let me ask this too, as it relates to your sobriety. I imagine this has to be a life-changing, just amazing, example you're setting for your kids. But where my question is how has this affected your extended family? Because it's weird for Thanksgiving for them, not for you, I guess. It's your chosen way of life. But has it been something your social circle had to adapt to?
So our family lives are our family is who we built basically at this point.
I gotcha.
We I don't know. We don't spend much holidays with our family, unfortunately. For many reasons. That's a whole nother podcast.
Sure. And sorry if I.
Yeah. Oh, no, not at all. No. We just, honestly, it's just kind of weird, especially since COVID. We've just spent a lot of holidays with us or friends, and our circle has kind of evolved over time, but everybody drinks. That's everybody but us drinks. And my thing is coffee. our circle didn't change anything. We just changed what we put in our hand. He's always drinking a LaCroix or liquid death. LaCroix, my God. LaCroix. Or liquid death or something. Like we just changed the habit loop is cue, routine, reward. And we just changed the routine instead of, AA says to change your people, places, and things. And that's kind of impossible, especially if you're a raging addict that doesn't have enough money to uproot and move to a completely different city. Yeah. That's not really realistic. So instead of changing your people, places, and things, we believe in changing the place where your nervous system lives, because that's really what's drawing you to that addiction to begin with. Uh-huh. So that's when, I got into yoga and all that. Which is really
change your surroundings. You can't control other people, but you can control your exposure to them. It's kind of the way I live by things. And the family aspect of it, my dad's a big drinker and always has been. He, ex NFL player.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. With those guys back then, he's had 28 knee surgeries and 17 whatever shoulder operations, something like that. And those guys, they didn't have the opioids and whatever we have now. They had booze. That was their way to cope with the pain and deal with it. So it's really just, as you know, just a different generation when it comes to that. And in that, I was always around it. I always saw the drinking. And when I quit, my dad was going to do it with me. And unfortunately, that lasted about 8 minutes.
He said it lasted 3 months, but I wouldn't doubt if it lasted 3 minutes. He's physically, it's at that age, it's almost more dangerous to quit than it is to keep going.
Yeah,
I would think.
It wouldn't be easy. Yeah.
No. And that's just, I didn't separate from them for any reason other than we just kind of grew apart and they lived far away. And I don't know why, like she said, it's probably a podcast for another time, why our family, we just sold a big old table that seated like 12 people that I bought. I'm like, this thing fucking extends. It's got to leave. We'll have so many people for Thanksgiving, Christmas. So why wouldn't they come down here? Just sold it because we never use it. We have a tiny little round table now for our 4 members of our awesome little family.
But not everybody likes sober people. Unfortunately, sometimes
they feel judged. I feel like
they immediately. There's a lot of people from our old life that I can feel the energy when we walk up to them and we're happy and we want to.
I want you to get torn up, man.
We don't care if you drink. It has nothing to do with us. We don't need to project onto you. But I can feel that energy of I'm not good enough. Do they think I should quit? And I don't feel like that at all. I can't, honestly, I don't have the energy to. I can barely focus on myself.
Yeah.
Right.
And AA is great for a lot of people. I'm a big proponent of AA if it works for people. But like she said, it's they tell you to change. You're not, you need to get rid of all your friends. I'm like, why would I want to do that? I would like these are my friends. Like just because they drink doesn't mean that they're not going to be my friend anymore. If that's the case, then they'll weed themselves out on their own.
And we would have no friends.
No, for sure.
It's just not realistic.
Well, and also some people can handle it. Some people can drink. Some people can socially drink. Some people can drink once a week or put it up or put it down at will or have a glass of wine. So it's like we can't judge people. Do you drink? Do you not drink? It can't be so black and white and or anything for that matter. But, it's just silly. And it's sad to me as you explain that a little bit that like maybe their own insecurity kind of projects a little like, but like that's their own journey and like they'll work it out, and and the best you could do is like you said, it's just reassure them like, I'm not judging you. This is my choice. This is me.
Right. So I love you all the time. I love everyone all the time. No matter what their choices are, their choices are how they feel about themselves and that's on them. That's awesome. And I don't judge them for that. I know my choices are how I feel about myself and I'm focused on me now.
Yeah, I leave the white wig at
healing codependency.
So I feel like I want to touch on this too. So you said this really briefly, Kris, is that as you were, I guess, making the decision to get sober, you focused some of your energy into real estate. Is that when that happened for you? And then 7 years later, you're the best in Destin? Like, how did the real estate thing happen?
Not quite. It was a rocky journey.
I wouldn't say a rocky journey.
Well, it was because there was granite involved. So it was kind of a rocky journey.
Oh, cool.
You're so funny.
I'm so funny.
I got back into the family business right when I quit drinking. I didn't know what avenue I was going to go down. I just know I needed what I guess you could say a big boy job. It's kind of what my
structure.
some structure. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't need to do I don't have any money. I'm going to go make 300, or I don't know, I might make 50, that bar lifestyle. I lived that. And it was great, man. It traveled me all over the world. I worked for Buffett and Margaritaville, got to live in Cayman Islands and go to Greece, and Dubai, and fire shows. And it was a great time, man. In my early 20s, I would never change it for the world. It was great. But, that comes with a certain kind of lifestyle that is very fly by the seat of your pants. And as I was starting this family and going to go down this journey of sobriety, like you said perfectly, I needed some structure. And I went into the family business because I knew that it's a great skill. This place was growing, and I stayed selling cabinets, countertops, and flooring for about 4 years. Yeah, I'd say 4 years. And, was always just peeking over that fence of real estate and seeing these guys come in that were selling it and crushing it. And finally, one day I was sick of making somebody else a lot of money. And it took me a while to be able to have cojones to step out and do that. When I got into real estate, John, I'm not lying to you, it was January 27th, 2020 is when I sold my first house. So not that long ago is when I sold my first house. I got into real estate August of 2019, but that was my first closing was that day. Oh, and in going into that closing, I had $1.87 in my checking account.
We had 2 kids in daycare.
Two kids in daycare, $1.87 in my checking account. And I had, checks coming. They were on their way from things, past stuff. But at that time, man, I took a screenshot of it because I had no clue what was going to happen, but I knew I wasn't going to fail because I've done a couple of speaking engagements about real estate. I got asked to do one like not even a year in. And they're like, I said, you want me to go speak to people about this? And they're like, well, I said, I've been in this a year. And they're like, yeah, and you're crushing it. So tell us how you did it. I'm like, well, fair enough. So my big proponent of things was, you can put your feet into cement and you can get stuck real quick. And if you leave one of these feet in cement, it's going to, if you leave it in there long enough, that cement's going to dry and you're going to get stuck carrying around a bucket full of cement. So you might as well jump in or jump out, whichever way you want to look at it, with 2 feet. And now you don't have an option. You don't have an option for failure. You don't have an option. You don't have your foot in a backup bucket, I call it. You don't have your foot in that backup bucket anymore. And there's literally one path here, ladies and gentlemen, or that's it. There's no or. There's one path, and it's success. You got to figure it out. You got to bash through. I don't know how many walls, how many brick walls, your head, like you were saying, bash your head up against a wall until you break through that damn thing and figure it out. Because you got this young lady and a little one on the way. You better nut up, baby.
Yeah. And if we had known that COVID was going to shut us down, I'm not sure you would have taken that leap. That was only a few months before the shutdown.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Later. And you're building this momentum and then the whole world shuts down.
But it was kind of beautiful because he built this momentum a couple months into the year. And I had never taken 2 months off work. Ever. I had 2 babies at this point, and I took a week off after our child was in the NICU. I literally gave birth. A week later, he's in the NICU for a whole week. And that next Saturday, I went to work because that was the pace of life that I had to live in order to keep up at the beach. We live in a very expensive town. I don't mean to correct you, but I don't own my own salon. I own my own business inside of a salon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to correct you. We owned a salon for a couple months there, but that's a whole trauma story we'll tell another.
Sure. No, thank you for the correction.
Yeah, okay, thanks. But I have owned my own business as a hairstylist I have not worked for anyone for 12 years.
Yeah, exactly. So to that end, again, that's an entrepreneur spirit. So with that, when Kris was making this decision to take the foot out of the bucket and jump in, you had been doing that game for like 8-9 years or something, right? At this point, were you like, we're just going to make this happen and I trust you? And or was it like, did you know the results and consequences more? So you were, I don't know, how were you feeling?
I had never seen someone light up like he did when he first started selling real estate. It was like, oh, he found his thing. Like, when like you watch someone like go from one thing to the next and they just are not happy with it. And they're just like, they have this dark cloud that I go to work happy every day. I love what I do. So I've never had to do that, but I am my own boss. So I get to gas and brake. The second he walked into that role as a real estate agent, it was like that cloud lifted, the skies parted, and for the first time, I've literally not had to worry about him going to work.
Yeah, and
no, I mean, it's amazing, and it's cool to see somebody, go from struggling a little bit into a happy place and to find themselves.
I mean, you're
always
always
an entrepreneur working for the man. That's an uncomfortable feeling.
Well, not even there, man. I mean, it all started. One of the main reasons I think I'm so successful in real estate is all those 37, almost 38 in 5 days, years ahead of where I am now was me going through this job, running beach chairs or hitting the bar or bartending, and then going into cabinet sales, flooring sales, whatever job I had. All that time, I wasn't the happiest, but I was picking up all that stuff. I was putting things on a tool belt that now when I do interact with people that are buying houses or just interacting with them in general, I can relate. I can somehow find a way to relate to them.
It's a great point, man. You've had like a lot of worldly experiences.
Right?
Like a lot.
Right? Yeah. You run into somebody that's from, North Texas that's wanting to buy a house. They're from Abilene, and they're like, this dude don't know where Abilene is. And then you start talking to them for a minute, and I'm like, I almost went to Hardin Simmons. They're like, what? and they're not buying a house from anybody else now at that point. You can find that connection with people, because all life is about, especially with sales, but I think in general, is connection, networking, connection, whatever that is. And if you can find a way to connect with people and make them feel those feels, that they make them feel that warm and fuzzy, that familiar feeling, then, it's pretty much game over at that point. And not in a manipulative way, but whenever I'm buying something or I'm trying to be interested in something, if somebody can relate to me and kind of share some of my past experiences, I'm gobbling that up. Like, I'm for sure, man.
Johan Hari, if I'm butchering that name, I'm so sorry, but he says the antidote to addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. And I think that's ultimately what you're doing. Every day you connect with these clients on a personal basis and with your life experience in your back pocket. I mean, he can sit there and tell you the names of the granite, like what mountain in Italy it came from. It's quite impressive.
But it's all about, like I said, connection, and so I don't look at any of those past things as disappointments or failures. But
no, of course not.
It was the arrow being,
it's the journey,
gathering, just to
for sure,
right.
And honestly, it's amazing. You can look, it's a resource to you, and it's awesome.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Anytime people ask for advice, I advise them to just do all the things, do everything that you can think of. If you like it and you think you want to do it. If it doesn't make you the money that you need to make yourself happy, I'd weigh that too, man. Like, what is money versus happiness? It's a very fine line to dance on. Like, you can make all the money in the world, but if you don't have any time to spend it or enjoy it with the people, then who gives a shit what you're doing?
Yeah.
You asked a question earlier about how sobriety is impacting our kids. Unfortunately, and I hope this gives people struggling getting sober right now, I hope this gives them hope. Our kids don't know drunk Jackie and drunk Kris. They don't know the people we were, which unfortunately skews their perspective. They're kind of like, they don't know. They don't have any, what's the word I'm looking? Perspective.
Yeah.
Any point of judgment, No point of reference. Point of reference. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. So parents that are trying to get sober and they are feeling that shame of like, I know my child sees this, or that, what effects am I having on my child? It's actually kind of a better thing for them to see you struggle and then see you do great. Because unfortunately, our kids don't see that. They don't understand that we live at the beach. They don't get that we live in paradise. We took them on a pirate ship yesterday, and Tatum's having a meltdown on the end. Like, I didn't get to ride the rides. We're like, dude, you just rode a pirate ship in the freaking harbor. On a Sunday, on a school night. Like, where is your gratitude? So unfortunately, part of me wishes they would have seen us struggle a little bit more, so they can see, like, look how good mommy and daddy are doing.
You guys you're building them such a beautiful life, like the life we all wanted for ourselves. That's like the mission, and like, so just sit back and like both take a moment to reflect and like rejoice in that, and like be both very proud of yourselves,
Right.
They'll get it.
Right. Eventually they will, when they have kids and they realize how freaking hard it is.
But, I mean, we all have those moments. For
I'll be on my deathbed. They're like, "Hey, Dad, thanks." I'm like, finally, I can.
My man. And then the next question is like, "Did your mom ask you to say that?" Right. All right.
She paid her. She paid him.
Yeah. That's great. Amazing. Awesome. Well, that's cool. That's an interesting perspective too. And yeah, it's great. So look, at the end of the day, you guys talk about it, and you're such living examples too, that like naturally when they're in I say middle school, it hurts my feelings. My daughter's in middle school, but high school for sure. Let's try to be optimistic. They're going to be confronted with alcohol and things at parties and stuff. Like this is going to happen. So inevitably when those conversations and stuff come around, you guys can still say, I'm on year whatever now, you know, and then this is maybe why. And, you know, and that's also pretty meaningful, you know, and and you're living examples. And if it doesn't mean anything now because they don't have a point of reference, it'll start to. It really will.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
And I hope, you know, children repeat what they see is basically
100%, right?
Right. So I love that every morning Kris takes our daughter to school and she sees me training some clients in my garage.
I love that.
That I hope that is seared in her mind, that mommy takes care of herself. Mommy helps other people take care of themselves and things like that. So when she is confronted with that, she's like, ew, that's yucky. I don't want to do that. That doesn't take care of my body. But you know, she's going to be a teenager. So I am a
living example.
For sure. I will say I'm a little, I don't know how to even bring it up, but later in because we're sober from alcohol, but I definitely partake in medical marijuana. I'm a big proponent of that.
And we live in a state where it's legal, and we didn't have to like fudge our story at all. We told our doctor, like I told my trauma story of, you know, come from a toxic family system of narcissism and codependency, gave a couple examples, and the doctor looked at me and said, that's exactly what this is for. CPTSD is very real. I was traumatized daily, verbally, emotionally abused. Unfortunately, I mean, they didn't mean to. I will also say that I understand at this point, they have their own trauma and it was just projected. But that's exactly what this is for. And I attribute a lot of my sobriety to medical marijuana. I feel like it doesn't numb it. If anything, it makes your brain a safe place to ask questions and say, why do you feel like that? Why are you so triggered by this thing or this person or this whatever? Whereas without medical marijuana or with drinking, either one, you don't ask those questions. It just, you know, the inner critic gets louder and louder when you start asking questions like that. But with medical marijuana, it's like a safe place for your brain to poke around.
Well, it's taken a lot. It's the science behind all of it's just gone in a direction that's very, very positive. Like I don't burn blunts and J's like I used to. It's more of a powder that I put in my coffee and I microdose throughout the day, as opposed to when I finally when I got sober, they gave me basically unlimited supply of Valium. Unlimited. Xanax is what they started with, and then Valium to help with my nerves, because that's
it's just crazy, our system, right? It's like, and been there, done that, so no judgment. It's just crazy that's so easy to get a hold of when it's like we feel like you need to explain ourselves. It's like medicine.
Meanwhile, his doctor looks me in the eyes and says, ma'am, your husband will not be able to function without a benzodiazepate. And I looked him square in the eyes and I said, sir, I've never disagreed with you more. And we walked away, went straight to cold turkey got off Valium 5 a day. It was more dangerous than, I mean, this was 2 years into sobriety from alcohol.
4 a day.
And it was, 4 a day. And it was in the morning. Scary to watch.
Like
I mean, so there's a lot of seizure and there's a lot of.
Right. And we went straight to the Crane Center in Destin, which is a psychiatric medical marijuana place. And the doctor looked at him, cut his eyes at me, and I was like telepathically saying, don't give him Ambien, because he was complaining about sleep and things like that. And I'm like, don't you dare. And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, because you might have sleep apnea. We had also mentioned that. It's like, I'm not comfortable prescribing you sleep medication, but I am comfortable prescribing you medical marijuana. And from that day on, he has been healing.
Yep. Awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
We have been healing.
Awesome. Yeah, no, awesome. And look, I mean, I like to believe this is like the way our culture is. I think our generation has embraced this more than anything.
For sure.
And I mean, and we were the dare kids. Like, we were so just say no, but like, but there's
that was your documentary talking about that fear-based. Wasn't that your documentary?
Totally. Stigma. Yeah. Right. I mean, and we've had a lot of subsequent stuff later. Like I've become an advocate for ketamine.
My God, huge. I'm a microdose psilocybin too. I haven't been able to get into I mean, I could go the ketamine route. I just their time frame.
Yeah, it's a day to half a day of your life where you.
Yeah.
The last time you looked into it, you weren't in real estate. You were still working a 7 to 4 job. Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, but it's like you were saying. I don't have a day and a half to dedicate. I'd love to be able to do that because I think that'll really help you unpack some stuff. But the microdosing psilocybin has been really awesome for me.
If it works, it works, you know?
What?
When you, a couple weeks ago on Marriage Monday, when you said you were just feeling low and it occurred to you, you hadn't. Yeah. I just was feeling kind of just draggy for a while. And I'm pretty good about kind of keeping a log or track of how I'm feeling. And when I started microdosing psilocybin, I did just that. It was 3 months of nothing, just kind of a control of how you feel. And then I started microdosing it, and I could definitely incrementally notice a change on my personality, my mood. It just kind of helped me put some of that bullshit, for lack of a better term, that you deal with, the tiny things that will just dig into your skin and annoy you for no reason. It helped me put those in basically a file over here, and I could just put them over there, and then about every week they just would data dump and be gone, and I wouldn't worry about them anymore as much. And that I really took note of that. And the other day, like she was saying last week, I was just dragging around, man. A couple people had said, like, are you all right? And it's not, I'm pretty bubbly and outgoing, and maybe not bubbly is not the bad. I'm passionate. Let me put it that way. I'm very
passionate
feminine of you.
Whatever it is. It might be negative, might be positive, but one way or the other, you're going to know how I feel pretty quickly.
Ain't that the truth? Hey, at least you self-recognize.
And it just wasn't happening, and I took note, and that's what it was. And now I've started again, and I'm, it's made the colors a little bit more crisp, and the air just tastes a little bit better, and you're a little bit more grateful for being feet hitting dirt in the morning. Yeah, beautiful, good. And if it's working, look, again, this is plant medicine, and if it's making you have brighter colors and food tastes better and things, your morning's easier, brother. Like, get it. Support that. 100%, man.
Or your nervous system's regulated, so you're not yelling at your kids, and
That's the big thing for me, man, is being able to just not give my kids shit over the littlest things. I'm about to be 38 years old. I still don't have my shit together. How am I supposed to expect a 6-year-old to express his feelings to me over a spilled bowl of cereal or whatever it is?
Articulately.
Yeah. Jackie said something earlier that you're, I think, saying now, but when she was kind of talking about her own trauma with her parents briefly, she said, and they didn't know what they were doing, or they didn't mean to do it. And then she kept going on.
Right.
And I thought to myself, literally what you're saying right now, it's like, and I hate my foster. I don't hate such a bad word. I have, I don't have, look, there's no relationship with my former foster parents at all. My foster mother.
I'm so sorry about that.
It's all for the best. It's all for the best. But I say that to say, like, I also have great empathy for them. Right. Every mistake. And even if it's deplorable, something I would, if it were anyone else, I'd be not okay ever, or things I would never do in a million years, I still have more empathy now at 39, just turned 39, because like I get now that, like, man, they were just figuring it out. They were just figuring it out every day. There's no plan book. I'm 39, don't feel like a grown up yet. I don't get that. Like, but I get it now more. Maybe it took becoming a parent to start to understand that. I don't know, but like, even for the bad stuff, I'm kind of like, but I get it. They didn't know what they were doing.
Well, they're a couple kids. Well, we're all kids. I still look at Jackie running sometimes, and I'm like, I don't look at her like she's a 30-something-year-old girl.
I'm fine. I'm 36. It's cool.
But it's. I look at her like she's a 20-something-year-old trying to figure this out. It's Jackie. The same way. It's Jackie. Yeah, and we all still are 16 years old.
I have a theory, and the holistic psychologist replied to my comment yesterday. She actually posted about basically the same thing, that we're all basically adults, or I'm sorry, we're all children running around in adult bodies. And I posted something saying, I have a theory that we collect ages. Like instead of I'm 36, I have 36 years. I have 36, and I have a 2-year-old inside of me. I have a 7-year-old inside of me. I have a 16-year-old inside of me. Those people don't just disappear. They're inside of me. And I don't, you can't just forget about that person. That person's part of you. So we collect ages. We don't turn an age.
I completely agree.
Right. She said so too.
So cool. Yeah. All right. And we'll end with this, because I honestly don't know this story. I don't know. So that's perfect segue. how the hell did you guys start dating? You've known each other over 20 years. Now you're parents, you have these beautiful children, you have this life together that we've been talking about. But whoa, we got to back up. How the hell did you guys connect and this happen?
Okay. So, you know, for alcohol and all of its negative things, it did bring us together in a way. Like, I lived at a Aerial Dunes. It's over here in Destin, the big high rise, and me and Dane McFarland, one of my best friends.
Yeah, I reconnected with about a year ago. Good, great guy.
Yeah. Oh, I love Dane.
Man, he's my brother through and through. One of the greatest guys. They'll always be there for you. Anyways, I broke up with the girl before Jackie, my ex-girlfriend, and we all lived out in California and moved down to Destin, and I'm living with Dane, and we're basically just living this bachelor pad. And there's a bar downstairs, and I go downstairs all the time. And one night I end up down there, and somebody said something about Brentwood, Tennessee. And I'm like, who's from Brentwood, Tennessee? And I'm kind of whipping my head around, and this guy's like, my girlfriend. I'm like, okay.
First of all, side note, we had broken up once, and we had moved to Colorado for 6 months and had broken up once there. And I was young and had no money. And it was a great, experience learning to snowboard for 6 months, but it was a terrible financial situation. So we moved back, and that's when I started booth renting, and just every dollar I made, I was picking them up as a client, for the record.
Anyways, they were, I guess, on the outs or whatever. And we sat down and started talking for a minute, and still didn't know each other's names, really. I don't think we had. We were just
having a conversation about.
She said, I'm from Brentwood, and I was like, oh, what high school did you go to?
Wait, you didn't recognize each other?
First of all, that's the thing. He had long curly hair. He had tattoos. I didn't recognize him at all. I'm like, who are you?
That's what I said. Anyways, I said,
this story just is getting better and better. This is
Wait for it. It gets really good.
I said, what high school did you go to? And she's like, Brentwood High. I'm like, I went to Brentwood High too. She said, what year did you graduate? And I said, 02. She said, my sister graduated in 02. And I'm like, oh shit, like this could be a quick conversation. And she's like, I said, what's your sister's name? She said, Jennifer. And I'm like, holy shit, you're Little Rosario. She's not so Little Rosario anymore. And she's like, yeah, what's your name? I said, Kris Laidlaw. And she goes, no, you're not. I said, yes, pretty sure I am. She goes, no, Kris Laidlaw had short blonde hair with highlights and drove a big green truck. And I'm like,
I literally had to do
all of that was true.
Shit, that is you.
I was like, yeah, he sure did. I was like, Eminem was popular. I don't know what to tell you.
That is amazing.
She's like, well, what are you doing? I said, are you down here on vacation? Obviously. And she's like, no, I live right down the road. I'm like, what? She's like, you're down here on vacation? I said, no, I live here. And I said, all right, well, you want to go to dinner tomorrow night?
No, that's not what happened.
Bullshit.
Then I gave him my business card. And a week later, this is really what happened. Shit. A week later, I went to a wedding reception, and my ex and I had broken up that night. He just wouldn't even look at me. Bless his heart. He's happily married now. Everything's great. But we just, had gone our separate ways. And
I smelled blood in the water.
Me. Yeah.
That's it.
Blood in the water.
He was sniffing.
Came in.
He came in.
2 babies later.
Yeah, right?
No.
8 million
memories. The only reason I even went with you is because Dane was going to be there. And I'm like, fine, I want to see Dane. And from that moment on, I practically moved in with y'all immediately.
It was done for. But it was, kind of just circumstance. Pretty random. The universe
brought us together.
I'm going to full circle the heck out of this. Jackie, you're the only one that could verify this. And I don't expect you to remember it, but this is like the only tiny memory I have. Okay. This was when, like, maybe after your wedding on Facebook or something, like I don't know, but you were definitely together. I think pre-kids though. And I was like, wait, Jackie and Kris are together? How did that happen, right? So since that moment, I've been waiting for that story. This is what I remember. And God, I hope I don't embarrass you here, Kris. I don't think I am.
You'll never embarrass
me. But I remember, like, senior year, maybe junior year, our junior year. We graduated the same year, too.
Yep.
Talking to Jackie somewhere or some social setting, something, and explaining the story to me. Tonight, I was cheerleading at a basketball game. Kris Laidlaw showed up. He was really drunk. I think he got kicked out and went to ALC alternative.
You were there when I was a guy.
I don't remember.
And then she broke the news to me. And then I went to school and we're in the same grade and being like, oh shit, where's Kris Laidlaw at? And you were just gone for a while. But I remember I heard that news from Jackie.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
That is
so do you,
hilarious.
I mean, I swear I'm not, do you at all, can you channel this memory, Jack?
So
You're
my
cheerleading
two
at a
memories.
Or basketball or something?
Yeah, probably.
I know
It was
that's
a
exactly
game.
what happened. So I know that's
There it is.
That's 100% what happened.
So my two memories of Kris Laidlaw were, oh no, maybe 3. I remember Kris used to hit on me in the lunchroom just to piss my sister off. I would walk in my cheerleading uniform and he would like whistle or do something, not because he was even hitting on me, but literally just to get a rise out of me.
Oh, I can see how that would get a rise out of her.
Right? I thought that was the story you were going to tell.
I get it.
So you were always on my radar of like, ah!
That's so funny.
That's exactly what happened too.
Is that what happened?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, dude. I went in to get one of my buddies. His mom had called me.
This story will never die.
His mom had called me to go back in. I'd left, man. I was out of that game scot-free. There was 6 or 7 of us that had gone out and had some beers. And I wasn't super hammered. I had a pretty good buzz going. And I walked out. I'm gone. And one of my buddy's moms called me. And, you know, I was one of the few that had a cell phone at that time.
Yeah. And a beeper.
Like, can you go? And a beeper, because that was cool. And she's like, can you go in and see if you can find so-and-so? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go in there. And dude, I walked back in the gym, and I guess they were going to let me go just because, you know, the football, whatever. And they were just going to let me go, you know, give a little bit of preferential treatment. And I guess because I came back, they were like, you dumb son of a bitch. And there it was. They're like, if you tell us who you were with, we won't send you to ALC. And I'm like, well, looks like we're going. Because
good for you, man. You did the right thing there. And sorry for your loss of a year.
No, man, it was 3.5 months over at ALC, man. It was some of the most.
Made you a legend in my mind.
Dude, it did, dude. It gave you a little clout. Gave me a little clout walking around. It felt good afterwards.
I probably held the door open for you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's hard.
He's a hard
dude.
So funny, man.
Meanwhile, he walks into ALC and makes friends with the biggest dude in the room.
100%, dude. You gotta latch on to that big guy. He was like, "Yeah, I'm here for selling ecstasy and coke out of the back of my trunk, and I threatened to kill my principal." He's like, "What about you?" I was like, pass."
I had a couple beers. Yeah.
Pass. We're good. Pass. You want my cornbread? Here you go. You can have my bread.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Oh,
so man, life is so funny. It's really crazy. And I here you are on like a marriage Monday, and with that, I'm so very, very thankful and appreciate you like allocated some time for me on your day. And this is like, I was saving some of this, just catching up for this conversation. I'm so glad we did it. Like, man.
Wow. I can't wait for a couple months, man. We're gonna have a good reunion.
Are you going to the reunion?
I'm there.
No! There was like 7
I'll bring Ariana
too. They were going.
Yay!
And I saw he put there. I was like, fine, I'll mark I'm going. If John said he's going,
I'm going. I love it.
I think it'll be fun.
I just can't wait to go and like literally talk to these people without like be crawling through my own skin because of my acne or whatever the heck else was in my own mind.
Looking good.
I can't like just look forward to having a conversation.
You know? Right. Same. I love it.
I got to save the bull shark story for.
Oh, do you want to tell it real quick?
No, we'll tell it.
So I would like to say Kris did not, neither of us, but Kris didn't go from I'm getting sober to I have all these cool hobbies. It took, I think, years of finding yourself and finding what you love to do to develop into the human that he is today.
Yeah, getting comfortable, I guess, in your own skin to be able to go out and do new and more fun things. And that's what I've been doing recently. The past year, I've been
picked up golfing,
gobbling them up,
and now he's picked up spearfishing. Or I don't know. You take the.
Well, I got into golf, and then I got back into scuba diving because I did a bunch of that when I lived down in Cayman. And but just recently, last weekend, I got into free diving, and I took my first free diving class.
Wow.
And that's I'm telling you, it was the most physically and mentally challenging thing I'd ever done.
I bet it was terrifying.
Diving 60 feet down is very crazy with no air, no tank. Just the physical aspect of it, the mental aspect of it. It's a lot.
You have to trust yourself a lot, I imagine.
Big time, man. Because you can run out of air down there and you still got 60 feet to go back up. And that's a lot. So it's a lot of the mental, being prepared, being aware of your surroundings.
Being present in the moment.
Yeah, being very, very present in the moment. Mm-hmm. But that to say, the human body is a pretty incredible thing. We have all these things in us, these mammalian something. I
butchering
I remember
that.
it, but I'm butchering it. From like when water touches your face, your body just goes into this state of being able to absorb oxygen at a different rate and disperse CO2 at a different rate so that you can go down to those depths. And it's totally because our bodies were meant to do this over years. Like we've been diving down to get things off the bottom of the ocean floor for a long time. So it's just a matter of, reprogramming your brain and just preparing, practicing, breathing up and doing it, trusting yourself to do it. That being said, it's not an easy task. And I did that Saturday and Sunday of last week. Excuse me. And passed the level 1 class, and it was great. And then the next day, a buddy of mine asked, I was exhausted, man. I was so exhausted. All I wanted to do Monday was relax and chill and do nothing. And a good friend of mine has been asking me if we could go back out on his boat. I mean, I'm like I'm going to be, I sound so bougie. I'm like, oh, I guess I got to go scuba diving on this boat. But we went. It was a great opportunity because me and him go out quite often, and the weather, when it's nice, you got to take advantage of it. And last Monday was great. This is a week ago. I was like, all right, let's go. And so we went out and we did our first dive, and we couldn't find the structure where the fish were until we were on our way back up from that first dive. I'm like, oh my God, there it is. We were diving the Destin Bridge rubble. So it's on the old Destin Bridge. They took it out and they dropped all the rubble out like 2 miles from the pass. Wow. So we're out there diving that, and we go up and we wait 30 minutes, strap on our second tank. We're going to go somewhere else. We're like, no, we'll just stay here. Like, we saw the fish. We go down. Right as we get down there, about 65, 70 feet, I see this almaco swim by. And almaco is one of my favorite fish. They call them sea salmon or something like that. And they're delicious, dude. And he was about 20 inches big, and he was right when we got down there. So I plug him, and they are tough little tanks. Like, you can sit there and brain them and gill them, and they're just
so violent.
You gotta get them in like this very tiny spot for them to stop moving. And you don't care about a little bit of water, a little bit of blood in the water, but what you want to stop happening is that fish to stop moving, because that's what's ringing that dinner bell and bringing in the big guys. And I finally brain him.
I just felt what you felt.
And my buddy that I'm diving with, Adam has a shark shield, and I ordered mine 2 months ago and hasn't gotten here yet. And a shark shield's a new invention. It's incredible. It clips on your ankle and is basically like a 7-foot long looking rope that hangs off of your ankle, and it lets off an electrical charge that deters the sharks. And you can watch some videos on it, and they're dragging like a seal carcass behind a boat in South Africa without it turned on, and these great whites are just blasting this thing, and then they turn it on and they'll come up and they'll just peel off. So I mean, it's very, very effective.
That's cool.
And you're never going down.
It's really cool. And so mind you, my buddy has that on, I do not. And but I'll swim real close to it. And I'm brain this thing, and it's finally done moving. He's got the fish stringer, so we string it up on his and we go about our business. Well, in this chaos, that first shot, I had to cut my line because it wrapped around Adam, and I'm not shooting again. So I've got my spear, and I've managed to get it back in the gun because it locks in place. So now I'm just carrying my gun. And Adam, my buddy Adam is the one I'm diving with, and we go around a corner, and these other 3 almacos swim by, big guys, and he plugs one of those, and I'm like, yeah, and I got this full on new face mask, so it's not just the regulator in your mouth, it's the whole thing, like a fighter pilot cockpit helmet. And so I can kind of talk and a little bit more communicative down there. So he shot this thing. I'm like, all right, man, you're right on. And I turn around, and right as I look to my left, these huge school of almacos swim by, big guys, and I can't shoot them, but they're getting real close to me. So I'm like, I wonder if I just and I just stab one, dude, like Lord of the Flies type shit. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, I am living it up, man. And this thing takes off. I'm grabbing it, and I pull him back down, and I'm like on cloud 9. I'm like, Adam's going to finish with his fish. He's going to turn around. He's going to be like, this dude stabbed another one. So I'm kind of squatting on the ocean floor, and I slide the gun between my legs, so the butt of it's kind of back behind my left butt cheek. And now this fish is in my lap, and I pull out my knife, and I'm going to stab him. I'm kind of looking at where I'm going to get him at. And as I lift my elbow up, out of the corner of my eye, I see a 6 to 8 foot bull shark under my arm, over my thigh, in between these 2 points.
You're like hugging.
Basically.
It's in a headlock.
Basically. And he whips his head around, or whips his tail around. So now me and him are face to face. Like, every bit of I want to say 3 feet wide head, like 3 foot wide head. He's a monster, dude. And he is the king of this bridge rubble, not me. But I didn't think like that at first, of course. So I pull the fish like close to me. it was just a habit. I don't know why. I pull it close.
I don't want to let go of that fish.
I don't want my fish to let go. It's my fish, bro.
I'm bigger than you in the food chain.
Right when I do that, man, the white of his eyes start rolling back, which means he's about to blast this thing. And I go to push away / stab him. I don't know which one it was. We're going to go with stab him for a more manly story. I go to like push him back and he lights this thing up, dude. He hits it. And now me and him are going for a ride. He is ripping this fish and I'm going, my gun, like you, screaming, shaking it. And dude, he rips this fish off, takes off. He comes back around. He's going for Adam's fish that are strung up on him. He
came back again.
He comes back around and he's going for Adam's fish and he hits that shark shield barrier and goes, whoo, and just takes off. And I'm above him going, you know, we get up to the surface pretty quickly, like way quicker.
Dangerously quickly. You had a bloody nose.
Yeah, my nose.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Because the pressure, right? You can't.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, it wasn't anything serious. It was from going down again, I think. And dude, absolute pandemonium. He throws the fish in. We get up there and Adam's like, well, that'll make you feel alive. I'm like, yeah, because I fucking am alive right now.
Yeah, I just fought a shark.
For
my fish.
For my fish. Well, actually, I did not have any more. He definitely won that fight.
Dude,
he took the fish.
What an amazing story. Holy shit.
But, you know, all that to say, it was the courage, I guess you could say, and the, what's the word I'm looking for? The vulnerability to be open up to do these new things has all come in the past couple of years. Once I've gotten comfortable in my skin with real estate and with where I am on my personal journey and working out and our family being the way it is, it kind of has made me open to doing these new, cool, crazy things that I would have never been able to do before.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful testament. Yeah, to being vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I was real vulnerable in that moment.
Yeah, that's a whole different type of vulnerability.
Had a shark head in my crotchal region. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun too.
I think it just proves the point of the nervous system that the addict craves that high, you know, stress.
Oh, you definitely must be an adrenaline junkie or something.
Yeah,
Chris.
I think so. But at the same
to your wiring.
At the same time, like ever since I've had kids, I've never thought about death and mortality more in my life. I think about it every day.
Yeah, I get that.
I just get you're I don't know. I always feel like I'm treading water in the sea of like, are my kids gonna be okay? Are they gonna be all right if I'm gone? Like if I do something, like I need to make sure they're okay. Am I gonna be able to watch them? Like what's the answers to all this? Like, back to the mushrooms and stuff.
Right.
Like my questions are just never ending. Like the universe is ever expanding. Expanding into what? Tell me. I don't understand. I need to know these answers.
Right.
I don't know how to get them.
Right.
We'll find out though on podcast too.
No, exactly. Right. Exactly. I mean, yeah. And to that end, I mean, you guys, like, you have your own podcast as well. You know, I feel like you guys sort of have your own cadence with that and all, but we talked about like a lot of the tenets of it today: sobriety, gentle parenting, these kind of funny anecdotes as well are priceless. That's
I have to say, like, we talk about gentle parenting because that's currently what we're working on. We're not like these perfect parents that never yell, never get triggered.
Totally.
It's actually quite the opposite. We get triggered, we're aware of what's going on, and then we post about it because we made it through these, you know.
But that also gives our kids the capability to see that we're not perfect either.
Right.
They need to see that. Yeah. They need to see that you're upset or you're sad and you go to apologize to them. And a lot of the things I think with parents is they're like, I'm not going to apologize to my 6-year-old. Why not, dude? Like, why not just go say sorry for the way you're acting?
Yeah, lead by example.
Yeah, lead by example, man. And trust me, I was very anti that at the very beginning. You know, I reverted back to the way that we were brought up. Most of us is
we still do. We still like
shut up and be seen, not heard, and do what I say. Why? Because I said it. Like why? Like he doesn't like the fruit. I'm not going to make him eat the fruit. Like don't eat the fruit. Then I don't care. Like why are we having this stupid argument over something that I hated when I was growing up? You know, eating things you didn't want, or doing things you didn't want to do, and it's hard, man. The easy route is to tell them to shut up and do the right way. And it's really the harder route is to unpack what's really going on and let them see you be vulnerable. And we all hope that we're going to get a better result out of that. I don't know. Time will tell. But
I think we're making such better shaped humans. Like I swear, I just see it. Like I won't even say with my own kids, even though they're amazing, but like with their peers, they're like way more accepting of things, way more understanding, like way more inclusive. I mean, it's like I just see these things, and I'm like, I think there's like great progress being made here, and a lot of it's around things like this, like what you just said. None of those things are easy. It takes time. Like it takes time. It takes a lot of extra time to be a parent, you know,
right?
The authoritarian, shut your mouth, do as I say, be scared of me is super effective, but it's so limited and you're stunting their growth. You know, it's not fair, you know, and
you're causing
negative is going to effing pay for that right down the road, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I learn from you guys all the time. Like we're a tribe, you know, and when you guys shared your things like that, like I felt triggered putting the kid in the car and this is what I chose to do. I learned from that. I'm like, shit, I did that last week. I learned, you know, so
makes you feel not alone too, man. It's a lot easier to go through those things. Like you were saying, even us just having this conversation, I've already felt better knowing that you're going through it. And I know that you probably are, but just to hear you say it changes it, man. It's if you don't say it, is it really happening? Like I just feel like once you vocalize it and be vocal about what you're going through, then people can kind of go, oh, okay, like it's not just me.
We grew up in a really judgmental time. I mean, if you think about it, the 90s and the 2000s, everybody was just judged for everything.
Hardcore. Like, watch an episode of Friends or 30 Rock or something. Fat shaming, like gay shaming, like I mean, it's crazy. I watch stuff now and I'm like, ooh, and like, and then I feel bad because I'm like, I was maybe the worst.
I was that guy.
Right? I grew up in that time. So that's how we all thought.
But it was that, and I hate it's not a cop out to be able to say though and recognize like that was our generation, that was our time, that was our archetype. We were taught, we didn't know better. Like,
it's
we
not
know better now.
So it's an explanation.
Right.
We didn't know any better. Like I had no idea like how
I made up these laws. I call them the laws of life. Love yourself first. And the first law is non-judgment, because once you realize how much you're judging other people is really because you judge yourself because of the conditioning that you grew up with, it really just changes your perspective on everything. And
being able to look at other people too, grown adults, as you look at yourself, like they're all just scared kids trying to figure out life.
Compassion.
Like, whatever guy I'm working on a deal with and he pisses me off, like for not doing what he's supposed to be doing or just not acting appropriately. I've find it even beneficial for me in business just to go, you know what, that guy's probably having a shit day or whatever's going on, or maybe he had lived under power lines. I don't know, like whatever it is.
Right.
Judgment.
I don't know. See, I can't even say things that you used to say. Like right when it
I get it though.
I can't say that anymore.
No, I get it though. It's just having that ability to be a little bit more compassionate. Like you might just be having a hard day. Give them a break. And even moreover, like, and I'll just speak for myself here. I think moving to Chicago helped me a lot more than anything. Marrying my wife helped me because she grew up so differently in a home that had no judgment and no rules in a way. So, and her mom is still like that, her sister, and they're all flourishing, amazing pillars of society, but they're totally different than how we grew up and wired. And, but with that came no judgment of people. So I came into her world where I put everyone in a box in 2 seconds. I looked at you and I would label you and know you. And it was so bad.
The trauma brain.
I thought I knew everything about this person.
Yeah.
Because of what clothes or their hair color or whatever.
Right. The human brain just sorts at all times. We're just sorting people. I know. Right.
It's bad, and, anyway, but coming out of that fog, as I like to say, and then meeting people in jiu-jitsu, other things helping, like your things, Kris, going diving, free diving, scuba, like golfing, you're meeting these different people. Yeah. And it changes your perspective of what a golf guy probably was, or what a free diver probably was, right?
For sure, man.
Dancing in the gray.
Yeah, it really has. It really, like I was saying earlier in the beginning, it's all about expanding your knowledge of the human life, the culture of everything. Like the more you soak up and the more you know about people, it's not even just going to benefit you in business, it's going to benefit you in your heart and in your soul, because you get to connect with these people, and it's
authentic.
It's really something special to be able to meet these people that all have some passion that you share. and they're all from different walks of life, doing different things, and have their own problems in their own regard. But when you're doing that thing with them, it's pretty pure.
Mm-hmm. You two are both really, really bright, shining lights. Keep shining. You're awesome.
Thanks.
You know, I know you.
Likewise, man. I wish we could have an entire podcast to ask you the same questions.
Right.
Fascinated by your journey.
It'd be the most boring podcast you'd ever have. Trust me.
No,
10 minutes of hearing me talk, you'd be like, all right, I'm over it.
We'll see in June. Because I'm gonna corner you, and we're gonna have some good conversation here in a couple of months.
Anytime you want, man. Anytime.
Right,
I have a question for you. Have you read or listened to the book, The Power of Vulnerability?
No.
I highly recommend it. Highly. It is one of the most life-changing books on the planet. I listen to everything. You were actually the first person to ever use the word dyslexic in front of me.
Really?
I grew up.
I found that out last night.
Yeah, I grew up in a family that, you know, I have a sister that's an orthopedic surgeon and one that's a school teacher, and very, you know, very brainiac side of the family. And I was the black sheep. I was the creative. I was the, you know, I had a hard time focusing. I had never heard the word dyslexic until you told me you were dyslexic. And then that just kind of went in a box, you know, somewhere like, oh, I guess I could be like that, but I'm not sure. And then my son is kind of struggling with some dyslexia issues. Mm-hmm. He's a genius when it comes to math and everything else. He's doing so great, but with language, he's just struggling, getting things backwards and this, that, and the other. So I'm doing some research. I read the book, The Dyslexia Empowerment Plan. And as I'm listening to it, because I listen to all my books, I'm like, oh my God, my whole life I've been dyslexic. No one helped me. No one. And then my inner parent swoops in and it's like, hi, I'm here to help you now. We're gonna work through this, and we're gonna reparent ourselves. And as a dyslexic person, and there's no shame in listening to books. It's still reading. It's just ear reading, not eye reading.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
Right. I told Tatum, if I have to read to you all through college, I will read to you, baby. I will do it.
It's just how he learns. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Get your shame to yourself. He's not dyslexic, but his brother was.
You will call him and read to him.
I will call him.
That's all I meant.
Of course,
the writer of the Dyslexia Empowerment Plan, his mom, it was just back in the day, but his mom, he would fax his mom his college assignments, and then she would call him when she got them, and she would read them to him, and he would do his work. And that is a mother that is, I love you all the time. I don't care if you can eye read or not. I'm gonna love you all the time. This is how we have to do it. We're gonna do it like this. And that's the kind of parent I intend to be for my child.
Of course. Yeah.
Right?
Unconditional. Yeah. And supportive. Yeah.
Yes.
Of course. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I was so fortunate that I had a teacher that gave me the time and the tools and the attention to be diagnosed, to work with it, to work around it, kind of learn my own tools. But I was handicapped before that. I felt handicapped before that, you know?
Yeah.
Sure. So my heart goes out to your little one, but he's in great hands, and he's going to be just fine, you know?
He is.
And the world is way accepting of it. It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, there's so many tools now, and like resources, and you know, and again, if it wasn't kind of stigmatized when I was younger, I wish I would have had like some of the, like Wayne County actually had some good options for me. Like they were like, do you want a teacher's aide? Do you want but I was like, no, I don't want anyone to look at me. You know? Right.
So the first 6 months of Tatum's kindergarten experience, he was being pulled out of class to help with reading. That caused more trauma for him than the fact that he's having a hard time reading.
Yeah, it really did.
It caused, the second he passed by the hair on his chin right at Christmas time, and he stopped getting pulled out, and then all of a sudden he loves going to school.
Cool.
So, you know, every trauma is different for each person. How each person handles it. My trauma was not being helped, but then getting him help was causing trauma. So you just got to let them be.
You'll find the right comfort zones and ways. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a work in progress. It's like clay. It's like always molding, you know?
Yep.
Right.
No.
So true.
This is a nose. Now it's a leg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, last but not least, where can people reach out to you, contact you? What's the best sort of resources if they have questions or inquiries or anything?
I would say Instagram is the best way to get a hold of either of us. I'm at Jackie Laidlaw. Okay. Well, you're a dinosaur. I forget to get on Facebook half the time.
Dinosaur.
I try to divide mine. Like my family real stuff is Facebook.
Yeah.
And like anything promotional Instagram, it's all Instagram. But like
right.
I try to make like if it's real, like that's a smaller group for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's yours again? You want to say it? I didn't.
At Jackie Laidlaw on Instagram or at Sobriety After Dark. That's I find you know what my problem is with all of this stuff that we've been trying to do? Technology. I got locked out of my Sobriety After Dark account for way too long.
Oh,
and
look,
there's,
it's
there's,
tough. Yeah.
Right. There's so much with technology. I get left behind. But we are always open to talk about sobriety, always open to talk about addiction or gentle parenting or how we've managed to, do any of this. So we believe addict behavior is a superpower. We believe that instead of feeling shame for being an addict, it's actually lean into it and use it to your benefit. Play to your strengths. Why would you shame yourself for something that could get you so far?
God, I love it.
Also do the work, to heal your trauma. But right. It's both and. It's literally both and.
Yeah, but if you lean, like we said in the beginning, if you can lean into that addiction and fill it with something less negative. I don't want to say positive because anything less negative than what you're doing is a step in the right direction.
It's positive. Yeah.
It's positive.
Yeah.
So just less negative than what you're doing now and make it something beneficial.
He always quotes Frozen too. Just do the next right thing.
Yeah. I was giving a buddy of mine some advice that had called me trying to get sober and we had just watched Frozen 2 and I just started blurting out Elsa's song on advice and he was like, oh man, that resonates so hard. I was like, yeah, it does. Elsa for the win.
Yeah, no kidding. One for Disney. All right.
Yeah, one for Disney.
That's amazing. Wow. But that's great, right? What a great little piece of advice, though.
Yeah, right.
Do the next best thing. What is it?
The next right thing.
The next right thing.
Yeah.
I like that.
We get stunted and paralyzed by thinking of all the things.
All the steps, right?
Right. Just do the next right thing. I say sobriety is not one day at a time. Sobriety is one choice at a time. Every day we are confronted with a million choices and it's one choice at a time. So don't even put yourself in a box in a day. It's your choices.
And you can find me mainly on Facebook and Instagram as well.
And TikTok.
Yeah, and TikTok.
I can only do one.
Good for you. Yeah, my wife crushes it. I can't. Right. Yeah, good for you though. Yeah, that's
Kris
awesome.
Laidlaw, at Kris Laidlaw, and then at Some Beach Group. That's the name of my group, Some Beach Group.
And I'll include all the tags and all the clips as well. So
awesome.
Cool. Reference those.
You can also find our book on Amazon. Sorry to interject.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we didn't get to talk too much about it. So we will have to have more time for this because let's talk about it. Forget it. Jackie, please.
You can edit it.
It's too important. Yeah. It's too, I can't do it. Can we please, what made you embark on this?
So obviously quarantine.
Yeah.
It was during quarantine and I don't know about y'all, but it was rough. We had the backyard was balance beams and two little pools put together, makeshift little pools.
It was a redneck
TVs on in every room. What snacks do you want? We had popsicles after every meal. It was like boundaries went out the window. But for us, we're sober, so that's all that really matters. We might be falling back on our good habits and our boundaries and things, but we're safe, we're sober, and that's all that matters. So we're having dessert at every meal. And one day my son, I had a 2 and a 4-year-old. We had a 2 and a 4-year-old at the time. And, my son and I had a huge communication issue and we were just going blow to blow. He's trying to do something that's going to kill himself. Like, no, you cannot put your finger in that light socket, whatever it is.
Right.
I had every right to be like, rawr, no, you cannot. But I had this moment with him where he's looking me dead in the eyes. Like, why do you not see me? Like, how do you not see that I'm struggling? How can you not see me right now? And I had this moment of oh my God, I'm the problem. And, we all end up taking naps at some point in the afternoon. And I woke up, I sometimes get these crazy dreams, but I woke up with a poem on my heart and I just had to get it out. And I started writing and I spent most of quarantine writing. It was the first time that I could really dive into my writing because I work all the time and I'm exhausted when I get home. And I start writing and writing and writing. And it started out as this long, lengthy poem that I'm more than happy to share with anyone for free, just post it somewhere. But it was this long, lengthy poem about how mommy's trying and I'm sorry and I'm this and I'm that. And then I tried reading it to my kids. I was trying to like get them to understand where I'm coming from, and it fell flat every time. That's literally what Tatum did. He was like, this is not fun.
It's beautiful, but
it was not for kids.
Yeah.
And so like a year later, I can't even remember how much time had gone by, I get the like passion back for it, and I'm like, okay, let's revisit this project that I started in quarantine. And I had another idea, and I took the thought process of the first poem and I put it in as simple as terms as my children can understand it. And that's where my little children's book, I See You, I Hear You, I Love You, was birthed. And it became a tool almost instantly after tantrums. The second a tantrum would start, my 3-year-old still was like, my book. Like, she wants to be validated in that moment for feeling her big feelings. And I want to give that to her. We'll sit on the floor, she'll grab it, and we'll, by the end of it, we're breathing together. And I went on a journey.
I don't even remember what you were arguing about.
Right. Well, yeah. And the whole purpose is to regulate the nervous system. Right. Our nervous systems get downloaded from our parents. Like whoever your caregiver is downloads their nervous system. So you're stuck with that until you realize, oh, hey, I actually have control over this. And so I think a lot of us are walking around with dysregulated nervous systems, which is why we're all drinking and drugging to just kind of regulate. And then I had this thought, because between kids, Tatum, we did not gentle parenting. We did cry it out. And if I ever get a time machine, I will go back to the day he was born, and I will never, ever let that child cry without me holding him. I cannot believe I did that to him. I was taking the advice of people that it worked for. Of course it worked. They don't trust you anymore. It was not it's not my choice now. I would never parent like that again. No judgment to anyone that does.
Each their own. It just didn't work.
It didn't work for him either. Yeah. So between kids, I discovered hot yoga, which is so wonderful for the addict in general, because it gives you that dose of dopamine that your nervous system is and your brain is looking for. Regular yoga is not enough. You got to come close to death in hot yoga. And I found over the years that I accidentally regulated with my daughter because I had tapped into my breath so consistently that I take one deep breath and she's going, wow. It's incredible to see. Yeah. So basically the end of the hardcover book, I had an epiphany in yoga one day, because Amazon can only print for a hardcover. It had to have like 64 pages or whatever. And so I'm like, oh man, my book dreams are dashed. The paper book was fine. It's just kind of dinky. I wasn't like super impressed with it. And I have this thought in yoga. I'm like, oh my God, why don't I do a breathwork tutorial? Because, if people don't go to yoga, they don't know what breathwork is. They don't know what all this is. And so it's kind of like a Trojan horse for your nervous system, because the kids like to count. The kids, every single time the kids are going 1, 2, 3. So that makes the parent do the inhaling. And so as the parent inhales, next thing you know, the kid can co-regulate.
And we spoke offline, like makes you go full circle at the end. Like it's so regulatory. I guess, obviously there's science, it makes sense. But like by the end of it, I feel like we're both.
Yes.
Yeah, you're kind of both just sitting
it totally makes sense.
Like, well, now what do we do?
I lied to you already. I was like, I get your book now. Now I get your book. This is
now
the third time thinking I get your book.
Now I really get it.
Now I really get it.
Yes, the whole point is to regulate our nervous systems so that we don't bleed on people we love.
Well, God, and I'm so glad we took the time, and I was able to hear you explain it that way too, because and most people know, but for those who don't know, my son's autistic. So he's very pattern seeking. It's all about the alphabet. It's all about numbers. So as you just explained that too, and you guys find that rhythm, it's interesting because he definitely finds my rhythm. So as I calm myself, or we get into the routine of I see you, I hear you, I love you, right? Mm-hmm. By the end of it, we're both so chill. And it's the breathing work, of course.
Yeah! It's working!
Man, yeah. But for someone like him who's seeking that, it makes total sense. But it's so great that neurotypical, anybody can benefit from
absolutely
learning these tools. Yeah, it is a Trojan horse. What a cool way of explaining that. I really like that.
I love it. And repetition rewires the brain. That's the only way to do it, is you just have to repeat, which is why going to the gym instead of, going to the bar works, because you're, repeating a different pattern.
Yeah, I will say one of my shining moments as a parent is seeing my 6-year-old, when he gets frustrated, he'll take a big deep breath, and I'm like, oh my God, we did that, man. Like,
right.
We helped facilitate that.
Yeah.
We didn't do that, but
we did.
We did do that.
We actually, it was harder with him because we had to undo what we already did. We didn't mean to cause trauma. We were just following the book.
Don't be hard on yourself. That's
his
life, and he's way ahead of the game. Yes. Could you imagine if we had that tool at 22 in college? If we could walk into a room and go,
I walk in and passing out.
Yeah.
Feeling everyone else's dysregulated nervous system, so you're just like, oh my God, numb.
Yeah. No, like, you guys are doing a great job. So impressive.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you both. Thank you both so much. Again, I'll be able to, or I will certainly include all the clips and links here for folks to be able to reach you. Just all your social media.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. This was fun.
This is like my favorite episode ever. This was
I can't wait to see you in a couple months. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'll see you there.
All right,
yay!
Man.
Awesome. Thank you both again. True Story with John Gibson, Jackie, and Kris Laidlaw.
Thanks,
man. Thank you.
See ya.